It is currently March 24th. We are a little less than 3 weeks away from the end of the NBA season, and that means we know who's good and who's bad. But the good news is, if you're bad, it's a great year to be bad. We have one of the all-time drafts in terms of prospects coming up. And with that being said, me and Corby thought it'd be really fun today to do a little bit of a mock draft. Now, we're not going to go off of where the draft currently lies because a lot could change in this last 3 weeks of the regular season, but what we are going to do is we're going to do our own little lottery, and then we are going to draft based on that lottery. So we're just going to get right into it.
Simming lottery right now, 3, 2, 1. And in this lottery, the Washington Wizards win it. Then it's the Kings. Then it's the Nets. And then it's the Bulls at 4. Kind of a lame lottery sim, but you know what? Whatever. Let's do it.
All right. And as the Wizards are shockingly in the Eastern Conference, Corby, you are going to be doing the honors today and starting us off.
Yeah, it sucks. I'm not even going to try and be a Wizards hater, but their tank is pretty unethical. However, they get the first overall pick, and I think it is pretty easily AJ Dybansta. Not only is he probably the best prospect, if not, second or third, but the Wizards need a number one scoring kind of guy. Something who Trae Young isn't, and something that Anthony Davis isn't, and probably Trey Johnson isn't. A number one guy who's going to have the ball a lot of the time. Hopefully Trae can share it with him, but Dybansta is such a talent. He thrives with the ball in his hands. He can defend. Hopefully his playmaking can kind of progress, but if not, there's a bunch of playmakers on the Wizards. They have, Alex Sarr, who's a good passer. Obviously, Trae Young, Will Riley can pass. A bunch of complimentary guys, and the things that AJ Dybansta did at BYU were just truly amazing. And I think he is completely going to translate to the NBA. It's just a matter of, can he do the other things? Can he defend at a consistent level? Can he pass at a consistent level? And, what's it going to look come crunch time? Because a lot of these players can end up being guys like DeMar DeRozan's, where they're good scorers, they're not great scorers. So what I'm hoping to see is him become probably like a top 5, 10 scorer in the entire NBA. I mean, I'm not going to say he's a generational prospect, but he's definitely up there. He's going to be the number one overall pick for a reason. He's not going to follow any lower than third, and hopefully he's just a killer on the Wizards.
No, I have to agree. I also really like AJ Dybansta at number 1 to the Washington Wizards. I think that with Trae Young there, it doesn't leave room for a guy like a Darryn Peterson. With Anthony Davis there, it doesn't leave room for a guy like Cam Boozer. But they certainly need a wing, and AJ Dybansta gives them a scoring wing that was going to come in ready to put up probably 20 points a game in the league. Now, what else is he going to be doing at a high level in the NBA is yet to be seen. There's obviously a lot of, I wouldn't say holes in his game, but shortcomings regarding his playmaking, his potentially his defense, his rebounding that don't, come to the same level as his scoring, but he is a really good prospect. He is probably the most polished scorer in the draft along with Darryn Peterson, and I think he's going to be extremely valuable for the Wizards. Number 2 to the Sacramento Kings, a team that needs everything. Now, this is a guy that has fallen down some big boards recently. And maybe you can say it's for good reason. Maybe you can say that there is, an unsure quality to his health, to his level of play, to his dedication to the game of basketball. But when it comes right down to it, if you're the Sacramento Kings, you have to go for the highest potential guy in this draft. And that is none other than Darryn Peterson. Darryn Peterson is going to come into the NBA with a set of skills that, frankly, makes him look like an elite scorer day one. The guy is smooth. He's got a great jumper. He's got a good handle. He's got an instinct for the game. He's got an instinct for scoring. Now, the injury stuff, you can talk about it, but truly, what are his injuries? Cramps and the flu. That is what primarily held him out this season. You can say we've never heard of a player getting held out because of cramps. That's also something I'd imagine they can address. I mean, remember when Paulo Banchero had a sweating issue in college, and everyone was super concerned that it was going to, not make him translate to the pros, and then they resolved it pretty easily. Now, Paulo Banchero doesn't have a jump shot now, and that's his primary issue, but I digress. I think Darryn Peterson is the intelligent pick here for the Kings, even if you want to say that he's not the most surefire, good or great pick. He is the guy with the most potential, the highest upside, and he's going to put butts in seats, which is what the Sacramento Kings need too.
Talent-wise, I definitely like Darryn Peterson at 2. I think he's by far, in a way, a top 3 talent in this draft. One thing that kind of concerns me is I think he'd pick up some, and no offense to Kings fans, he would pick up some bad tendencies from the Sacramento Kings. I think the Kings should draft a guy who's a surefire winner, who knows how to do the little things, because I think Darryn Peterson could kind of get caught up in the whole being really bad, and I think he'd just end up shot chucking a bunch. So personally, I would have went with like a Boozer, but I mean, as long as you can actually develop the talent, as long as, the Sacramento Kings can use this rebuild and eventually turn things around, I definitely don't hate it. And I definitely think he should be the number one on that team, and they should get rid of like a Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Malik Monk, all these other shooting guard scorers they already have. At pick 3, the Brooklyn Nets, I'm going to give them Cameron Boozer. I mean, straight up, I would love his fit with Claxton. Claxton's going to be able to hit him on cuts, and then Boozer's going to hit Claxton on cuts. You have MPJ, so you have a guy who can score without the ball. And what I love about the Nets fit is I think Boozer needs to have the ball, kind of like how he was at Duke. Even though he was playing with a lot of talented players, he was essentially kind of the point guard. And I think that's what it would be with the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, the best guard on the Nets right now is probably Igor Demon. And he's a guy who was looked at as this ball-dominant guy, but in the NBA has shown more to be like a shooter and a guy who's playing off the ball. So I think he'd be a great fit next to him. And I think Boozer would just get a lot of opportunity. And hopefully he can really develop his game on the Nets.
Yeah, I like Cam Boozer on the Nets too. I was really between him and one other guy who I actually probably am going to have going next. I think that Boozer, he is such a solid prospect in a lot of ways. Is he the most lengthy big man ever in terms of his wingspan? No. Is he the greatest defender ever? No. Is he the best offensive player in this draft? No. But he kind of does everything, and he has shown to be able to come in as a freshman and lead one of the top programs in the country to the best season in the country and win National Player of the Year, which has only happened for freshmen a few times. I think we looked at it and it was Cooper Flagg, Zion Williamson, Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
Very short list of guys, and 3 guys who, you know, you could say we don't know how Cooper Flagg's going to fully pan out, and you can say what you will about Zion and his injuries and his approach to the game, but talent-wise, you cannot dispute that those are 3 of the more talented players to come out of the drafts in recent years. And Cameron Boozer definitely deserves his props for doing what he's done this year. I think he'll be a very solid prospect, and I think his floor is very high. Now, moving on to the Chicago Bulls. This is a team that perpetually has been in the play-in, so congratulations to them for escaping play-in hell and ending up with the 4th pick in our lottery sim, which is pretty great for considering what their odds are at right now. Now, the Bulls are a team that has Josh Giddey already. They have Matas already. So you could say maybe they go with a Darius Acuff or a guard here. Personally, I'm having them going with Caleb Wilson. I think Caleb Wilson, in spite of how impressed I am by Darius Acuff's scoring ability, is a guy that deserves to be in the same conversation as these top 3 guys in terms of his talent level. Injuries obviously slowed him down a little bit this year. I watched more tape on him recently because me and Corby had a conversation. I was not as high on Caleb Wilson. I am high on Caleb Wilson now. I think he is an extremely good talent. He looks like he's great on both sides of the ball. And you know what? There is a reason that he is one of very few UNC players in history to make the All-American team as a freshman, even with missing, 7-8 games, right? Super impressive stuff. I think he is going to continue to develop his jump shot. It already doesn't look bad at the college level. And I mean, I didn't know he was that kind of high flyer. I saw a highlight tape of him dunking. I didn't know he had that. That's on me for not knowing.
No, he is uber athletic.
Yeah. What Caleb Wilson is going to bring to the Bulls is something they desperately need, which is another elite wing. This is a league of wings. You need an elite wing to win, and you need hopefully 2 to win. Matas is developing into a great player, but next to Josh Giddey, you need good defenders. Caleb Wilson is a good defender, and he's also going to be able to attack the rim in ways that, Matas can. Giddey kind of can, but he's going to add a high-flying dimension to their offense, and I think he could easily end up being the best player on that Bulls team.
No, I agree. And I mean, I don't know. You said, if Josh Giddey and Darius Acuff were in the backcourt together, I would vomit. I seriously would. Defensively, that is atrocious. I love Caleb Wilson, especially because I don't think he's so ball dominant as these other prospects. And Josh Giddey's going to get him the ball in the post. That's where he thrives with his athleticism. And then, you slide Matas to the 3, maybe sometimes Matas to the 4, Caleb Wilson to the 5. If you want to go small ball to end the game, I think that's actually a really good fit for Caleb Wilson. At number 5, and then also that's just them going, best player available. At number 5, it is the Clippers. The Clippers get this pick if the Pacers do not win the lottery. And this is an interesting team because I look at the current and the future of this team, and the only player I really look at is Darius Garland, because I have been super impressed from what I've seen post-injury. And if he can just stay healthy, which he never can any season of the year, he's a killer. He really is. And Kawhi Leonard is getting older. Unfortunately, this draft is very guard heavy, and I just don't really like a guard for them. So I'm going to go one that probably complements Darius Garland the best, and he's in the same tier as everyone else. I'm going Keaton Wagler. I think this is a guy who complements Darius Garland very well in the fact that Darius Garland loves to play fast. He's super shifty. He could shoot a lot. And Wagler might humble him a little bit. If Garland's been, had a bad couple possessions, Wagler can take the ball and he'll play it slow. He's not the best with his quick first step or anything, but he's just technically skilled. And I think he can guard a little bit. And I think Garland's also a guy who can kind of guard a little bit. So I think that's why they complement each other. He's a good catch and shoot, so he can play off ball. He can play on ball if needed. He can run the pick and roll like he's been doing with Illinois. And he's been amazing with Illinois. I'm not going to say it's the best fit. And I'm not even going to say it's the best talent. I think it's a little mix of both. And I really like the fit.
I do like the fit, and I like what you said about him slowing down the game in a way that Darius Garland sometimes struggles to do. I really thought you were going to go Kingston Flemings here, honestly, because of the defensive support that he can provide to a guy like Darius Garland in the backcourt, because historically Darius Garland, while being a defender that tries, has not been the greatest defender, and you want to put someone who is going to be a solid shutdown defender at the 2 next to him. But
I don't see Flemings as a shutdown defender at all.
I think he's got quick hands. Defender I think he can move his feet well. I think
he had 9 steals one game. That's cool. But then he did almost nothing defensively, in my opinion, the rest of the season. I mean, I think he was good defensively. Don't get me wrong. And I think for that Houston team, he was good. But I don't know. I feel like defensive prospects really speak out with their defense, and that's something he didn't do. And I'm not saying he's a better defender than Wagler, but I don't think the gap is really there. And I could just see Wagler. I know you can't really teach athleticism sometimes, but I feel like you can teach Wagler to be a little bit faster in that first step.
Use his athleticism better.
Yeah.
No, I don't hate Keaton Wagler at that pick either. It was definitely between those two guys, and we're going to see them get to play each other here tomorrow. Or no, Thursday. We're going to get to see them play each other on Thursday. That'll be pretty fun. So going to our next pick, that is going to be the Utah Jazz, a team that this is a tricky pick for me. Because the Jazz, while being a rebuilding team, have a lot of pieces that you want to give minutes to. You have Keontae George, who has emerged as probably the best scorer on that team this year. You have Lauri Markkanen. You have Jaren Jackson Jr. You might have Walker Kessler. So looking at this, it's tough for me to say which direction I want to go with them. Because this is a guy whose name we haven't said, Darius Acuff, right? I like Darius Acuff. Unfortunately, he's falling down this board because when you have a guard who's a defensive liability, or if you don't want to use the word liability, at the very least, he's not a very strong defender relative to his competition in this draft. I don't exactly love his fit on a team that might be trying to compete next year, or a team that is going to be taking away minutes from him and shots from him to go to a guy like Keontae George, which is actually why I do like Kingston Flemings here for a lot of the reasons that I just illustrated. He's a little bit of a, taller guard, although I don't know that he's that much taller than Keontae George. But again, he just provides that.
It's probably the same height.
Probably about the same height. It provides that sort of 2-guard standard that, you want in the NBA. Yeah, for a lot of reasons I said, I'd take Kingston Flemings here from the Utah Jazz.
Okay, yeah. And if I'm pretty high on it, I am concerned with Fleming's 3-point shot. And I do think the Jazz should go toward 3-point shooting. However, I will say when it comes to standard catch and shoot guys, there aren't many on the board besides like a Braylon Mullins, and I'm not taking him this high for sure. So yeah, don't hate that pick at all. Maybe like a Mikel Brown Jr. because he is technically a better 3-point shooter, but then you get the defensive Flemings, and then there are some questions with Mikel Brown Jr. Mm-hmm. Next pick, Dallas Mavericks, and this is actually the most ideal scenario for Mr. Darius Acuff Jr. He gets to go out there and dominate with the ball. I understand that, Jason Kidd and all the Mavericks ownership, whoever's doing it now, they want Cooper Flagg to run the point guard, and they've been kind of doing that all season, or they've been alternating between them and then some random point guard. No. Let Cooper Flagg be LeBron and let Acuff be Kyrie. And then you get Derek Lively as a lob threat. You are set up to succeed next year, in my opinion. You have Klay Thompson at the 2, or like a Najee Marshall, and Acuff now gets to play with so much talent and gets to show that offense, and there's enough defensive pieces on the Mavericks to hopefully make up for Acuff's potentially game win-threatening defense and how bad it is. So I love Acuff with the Mavericks. I think that actually might be my ideal fit, which, by the way, we're doing a video on that. That's our next video. I think I had him at the Mavericks at number 1 for Acuff. I love the fit. And just best player available by far.
I love that too. And by pure happenstance, he ends up there. Obviously we're going off fit and skill. I think Darius Acuff is probably the 5th best prospect in this draft all around when you want to talk about how great his scoring ability is and his ability to play make. I love this fit for him with the Mavericks. I think it gives him the opportunity to be everything that he could be in the NBA. And honestly, even though he'd be falling down the board to 7, I hope that this is a situation that comes up that he does get to go to a place like Dallas where he gets to dominate the ball so much. Next, we have the Memphis Grizzlies, a team that just traded away Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, and they look to be headed in the direction of a potential rebuild. Surprisingly, they did not trade Ja Morant at the trade deadline. I think that's because his value was so low that they just figured we'll hang on to him until his value is either higher or we just, continue to play him because he provides more value to us on the team than he would in a trade. So looking at what the Grizzlies need, it's complicated because they have a lot of young players, a lot of guys that you want to give minutes and opportunities to. Zach Edey, do you really believe in him at center? I mean, he's played really good when he's been able to stay healthy, but he can't seem to really stay healthy. Here, I think I am going to go with Nate Ament, simply because I do believe that as solid as Jalen Wells has been, you do need a legit, 4/3 kind of guy. Nate Ament is a solid rebounder. Obviously, he's not a great rebounder, so you don't want to get put in the Jaren situation where you're playing a 4 that can't rebound. But I do like Nate Ament as an all-around prospect. I like his frame. I like how he fits next to the other guys that the Grizzlies already want to give minutes to. And so I'd be going with him there if I'm Memphis.
Okay. Fit-wise, probably the best player on the board. I personally would never draft him in the lottery. I just don't think he's that good. And I think if you're going to take a forward, there's so many forwards in that 20s, 30s range that are just as good as him. Thing is, potential-wise, Nate Ament's there. Like, he should be really good. He really should be but I think what he will end up being is kind of like a Jabari Smith Jr. that has worse defense, which is not a very good player already, because Nate Ament has not shown good basketball IQ at all. The one thing I really love about him is he does know how to get to that free throw line. He knows how to use his frame that way, which is already, really good. And that's something that you just can't teach some people. But yeah, love the fit. Next up, I have the Atlanta Hawks. And this is the second to easiest pick for today. I'm going Mikel Brown Jr. Talent-wise, this guy is up there. You watch him play, he literally plays exactly like Damian Lillard. The only concern that I have for him is his back injuries. If not for that, I'd probably have him above Acuff. I'd probably have him fifth on my board. Now, has he been inefficient in his college career so far? Yes. But you could just tell that he translates. 6'5", can guard. He's not a defender, but he can guard. He can hold his own. Shoots from the logo. Can get to the rim. He's athletic. He can kind of do everything. And I think the Hawks need a legit point guard to handle the ball 80% of the time outside of like a Jalen Johnson or whatever. And Acuff is that. Mikel Brown Jr. is that. I would love this fit for sure. And I think some of these big boards are completely underrating him. Now, could I see a world where he's just kind of the shot chucker and he ends up being like a current D'Lo, not D'Lo in his prime, but a current D'Lo? Maybe. But I'm willing to take this risk because I don't think there's anyone on this board that's really worth like not taking the ceiling of it. I keep saying Acuff. Not taking the ceiling of Mikel Brown Jr.
Yeah, I actually like the pick there. I was surprised a little bit because the guy I was actually looking at for the Hawks there was LeBaron Phelan, who's the other point guard that you would kind of select there. But I like a lot of the reasons you illustrated for Mikel Brown.
He's cool, but if you know about what I've been talking about with the Hawks, I think we need a high ceiling player. I think we need a number 2 to Jalen Johnson. If we just needed, a good guard who's like, I think his ceiling is his floor is a lot higher, Phelan, compared to Mikel Brown Jr. Mikel Brown Jr. could easily be a bust, but the ceiling of that, it's worth taking the risk. If they both have the same work ethic and injury luck, Mikel Brown Jr. is 5 times the player Phelan is, and I'm high on Phelan.
You're the Hawks fan. I'm gonna trust you on that. Next up, we have the Milwaukee Bucks at number 10. How quick the Bucks have fallen from being a perennial 1 or 2 or 3 seed in the East and championship contender to now being a team that is directionless and really just has Giannis and a bunch of guys that you don't know what to expect from. Obviously, Ryan Rollins, pretty good this year, but this is his 1 year being good. Hopefully he continues to develop. I do like him a lot. Miles Turner is Miles Turner. That's all I got to say. Now, looking at what has succeeded for the Bucks in the past and what they have put next to Giannis, I think the best thing they could do here is go and get a guy who can defend on the perimeter. Drew Holiday obviously was good next to Giannis. Eric Bledsoe was good next to Giannis. Those guys played more of the point guard position. But I do like Braylon Mullins a lot here. I think Braylon Mullins has a lot of defensive upside. His projected 3-point percentage in the NBA is one of his positives, although his 3-point percentage overall has not been an extreme positive for him this year. But with a guy like Ryan Rollins already at the point guard who handles a lot of the offensive duties, playmaking-wise and points-wise, and a guy like Giannis who's going to average 30 points a game, and Miles Turner who's an offensive-minded center, you don't need a ton more offense. And you also don't need a ton ton more shooting, and shooting is also something you can find in other areas in the NBA. I like them going and getting a guy who can provide them with what could potentially be elite defense on the perimeter, at the very least good defense, and a guy that could help them a lot moving forward if they do intend on keeping Giannis.
Okay. I mean, yeah. I definitely wouldn't do that personally because I just don't see. I think they should go for a high ceiling guy because I think Giannis is kind of done with. Like, I think they're going to trade Giannis, even if it isn't for the package that they think it should be. But yeah, because I think honestly that all 5 positions the Bucks could kind of go after if they're trading Giannis. There's no one set star. Maybe Ryan Rollins, but even then, I don't know. Pick 11, Golden State Warriors. Some people are going to call me crazy for this pick, but I think that he would be a very good Draymond replacement eventually. Personally, if I'm the Warriors, I'm thinking into the future. I'm not thinking about right now. I'm sorry. If I'm the Warriors GM, I don't care about Stephen Curry winning a ring because it won't happen. And this guy has been terrible in college, but the defensive upside is so high and the rebounding so high and his ability to hopefully pass is so high. I'm going Jaden Quaintance. I mean, this is a guy who joined Kentucky at a very, very, very young age and unfortunately has dealt with a bunch of injuries, but he was, top of the board in terms of high school rankings for a reason. He is that good. I wouldn't let 4 bad college games and a bunch of injuries really concern me. It's one thing if it's James Wiseman and he played 2 games and he went number 2 overall. But when you talk about number 11, so I guess, this does have a bad track record of taking a big who hasn't played much in college. But at pick 11, I think the ceiling is there. I'm all for picking high ceiling players, especially if I personally don't care about winning now. I guess the Warriors kind of do care about winning now. I'm going Jaden Quaintance.
2 things. Number 1, yes, you did just draft James Wiseman 2.0, and I don't know how to feel about that because
Quaintance is an elite defender. Wiseman was never good defensively, and anyone who told you that as a prospect didn't watch him.
Exactly.
Or in high school.
I do agree with that. I definitely think the track record with the Warriors doing something like this isn't great, but I don't dislike Jaden Quaintance as a prospect. What I will say is that I also think when you say Draymond Green replacement, if you are the Warriors, no disrespect to Draymond Green, but if you don't have Steph Curry, you don't need a Draymond Green replacement because Draymond Green's ability and capability is maximized next to Steph Curry. And it goes beyond just the defense. It's the playmaking, it's the intelligence, it's a lot of different things that go into that, not just being a good defender. So I'm not really looking to replace Draymond Green here. What I mean,
you're not, but hopefully he'll develop the jump shot. Hopefully he'll be more than what Draymond is offensively because
hopefully I don't dislike the pick, honestly, at all. It gives them a really young guy
who would you
potentially develop. I would have gone Haynes Steinbach because the Warriors have been looking for a center for a long time who can just do the things that an NBA center can do. And unfortunately, Trace Jackson Davis didn't fit into the Warriors lineup. Quentin Post, I like him as a backup center, but he's not good enough defensively to play the center position in the NBA.
But what you guys did with Trace Jackson Davis personally is why I didn't go a Hans Steinbeck.
But I feel like we have to look towards the future and hopefully look past the way that things have been run. And the Warriors need a big man. They need a guy who can lock down the middle and also score and rebound. And Haynes Steinbach has been extremely underrated. 58% from the field, 34% from 3, over 75% from the line, 11 rebounds, almost 20 points a game, steal and a block. Like, he does all the things that you need him to do at a college level, admittedly, where he's playing against smaller players, but I think that'll translate well to the pros as well.
Yeah, I definitely don't hate that idea. I think Quaintance's ceiling is a little bit higher.
I do not disagree. All right. Next, we have the Portland Trailblazers at number 12. This is a team that lot of promise around them, especially with Dame coming back next year. This is a team that people might have as a sleeper pick to be a contender next year, which I don't think it's crazy to say that. Donovan Clingan's continuing to develop. Denny Avdia looks like a legitimate, all-star caliber player. I'm not going to say star quite yet, but all-star caliber player. And I'm still holding out hope that Scoot shows us something. Now, all that being said, I don't truly think that the Blazers should make a move in the draft to try to win next year. I think there's too much uncertainty. I think they could be very good next year, but Dame is also old and he's coming off of a major injury. So I think you still need to make a move towards the future, which is why here I would personally go Koa Peat. Koa Peat is a guy that has been up and down at times in college this year, has been hurt, but you want to talk about physical capability. You want to talk about, dominance around the rim, even as a 6'8", small forward / power forward. Koa Peat has that. He's a good rebounder. He can score around the rim. He's not a horrible free throw shooter. I will say his jump shot does need to get a little bit better for him to be a legitimate piece on a contending team. But I like him. He's young, and he gives the Blazers a realm, a dynamic that they don't have right now, which is a super physically dominant, from the high post kind of guy. Like, obviously Donovan Clean can shoot threes, he can play in the post, but that guy that can just attack from kind of the mid-range area and get to the basket, I think that would add another dimension to their team.
Okay. I don't hate it at all. Personally, I think I might be higher on the Blazers next season than most, just because they're getting another year of development and Damian Lillard. So I probably would have went Yaxel, but I still like that for sure. Next team, the Charlotte Hornets. And here's the problem, is they technically speaking need a center. But I don't know if Steinbach, I don't know about, Ademara. I don't know if they're the next guy. I don't know if they're the starting center for the Charlotte Hornets. They might just be better off signing one in free agency. No, actually, I think I am going to go. Pat Ngongba is a very underrated talent that isn't putting up the stat sheets or isn't putting up the stats of this, superstar center. He's not a superstar center, but he's technically a sophomore who's the age of a freshman. He is an elite level passer for a center. I mean, that dude has found Cameron Boozer on cuts like crazy. And I know technically speaking, the Hornets aren't the best cutting team, but in terms of just finding open shooters, I think he'll be a great fit. I think he's a great defender. And I think the Hornets have clearly, if you look at the advanced stats, they have flourished with Diabate as their center instead of a guy like Kalkbrenner. So I think you do want to be a little bit versatile in your center rotation, but I think they want a guy who is as similar to Diabate as possible, who is athletic, who's going to catch lobs and such. And I think that's Ngongba personally. Not to be a hater on Steinbach. I still think he's a decent center prospect, but Pat's next up.
I like Ngongba there. I do. I kind of had the same mentality as you had with the Blazers, where I'm like, maybe the Hornets go a guy like Yaxel because he is experienced and can be ready to win next year, especially the way they've looked the last half of the season. But yeah, I don't dislike Ngongba at all there. I think that's a solid pick.
Yeah, I mean, they still have Bridges. They still have, I guess, a guy like Grant Williams. So I was kind of thinking of Yaxel for sure, but I do think they need another center because I actually like Kalkbrenner, but every single on-off stat says that the Hornets are so much worse off with him on the court. And I think it's because he can just not move very well. So getting another athletic center, I mean, athletic centers are pretty hard to come by. So
yeah, I don't dislike it at all. And then last up at number 14, we have the Miami Heat. And, maybe Kobe needs his Shaq, so we'll just go Yaxel here. But really speaking here, the Heat have a pretty solid roster, all things considered. One of the hard parts about the Heat is that they just don't have quite enough talent, despite how solid they are at every position to be one of the true contending teams.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Drafting a guy that's super young doesn't exactly fit their timeline here. And, I don't know that you necessarily go with a win now player.
I think it's not even in the Heat's, it's not even the Heat's mind to go a player that has to develop for 2 or 3 years.
No.
I actually I do like Yaxel's fit with this team.
I do, and I was looking at it, but as someone who's a definite Kel'el Ware believer, I don't want to see any other big take minutes away from him. Like, I believe Kel'el Ware is that good to where you should say this is going to be our starting center next year, and this is going to be our guy. So that shouldn't be a hole that you feel the need to fill. But they do need
14th pick.
They do need a backup big.
Yeah.
So I actually don't dislike Yaxel here. I think he comes in ready to win. He comes from a winning culture. He's shown that he can play very well against tough competition in college. Now, is he the highest upside prospect? No. Is he going to become some sort of star? Likely not. But he could be a very good, backup to starting center right away in the NBA. And yeah, so I like that pick there. The other guy I was thinking about going was potentially LeBaron Philon, but just with Norman Powell and Tyler Hero and these guys that they already have there,
Davion Capuchonis.
I mean, I don't know where he's going to get minutes at.
Yeah. So I like Yaxel. I think, you're saying he's a big, but he is more of a 4. Like you can play him next to Bam. You can play him next to Kel'el Ware. You can't really play him next to both, but I think it's a little concerning how long he took to become good at college basketball. Like maybe he just comes to the NBA and just loses it like a Connect, but yeah, I like the pick a lot.
All right. And that is our mock draft. I don't know. Corby, do you have any closing thoughts?
No closing thoughts. We'll probably do something like a 30 pick mock like right before the draft, but I think these next couple mocks will just be lottery. Those are the main picks after all. But yeah, let us know, what do you really agree with? What do you disagree with? If your favorite team was drafting today, did we make the right pick, wrong pick? Let us know. Because I went off my opinion. I could have gone off like what I think they'll do, but I went off my opinion on how good I think that the prospects are. So it's all my opinion. Let me know how stupid or how smart I am, which is most likely.
Knowing the Miami Heat and Pat Riley, they're probably going to trade down from 14 to like 4 or 5 or 6 second round picks, and then trade those for like a solid player, and then just take a bunch of undrafted players and turn them into like, the greatest players you've ever seen in the postseason. So that would be my prediction. But
yeah.
All right. Yeah. If you guys like the video, please like, comment, subscribe if you feel like it. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers here very soon, ideally before the end of the NBA playoffs. It's a big goal, but I think we can make it happen. And yeah, let us know what you think down in the comments, and we will see you guys next time.
Peace out.